Man, another hard one here in San Antonio, Texas, man. Oof. Um, just I'll get right into this. I finally finished watching Spetters. Oh, I guess that means I'm assuming that means motorbike in Danish or whatever language these freaks speak. So this is one of the early films from Paul Verhoeven. Verhoeven. Dude, he made three of the best sci-fi action movies just ever made. RoboCop, Total Recall, Starship Troopers. I've watched Starship Troopers. I haven't seen it in so long, but I picked up the DVD and I watched it, and I was like, man, this is better. Maybe even, I don't know what you think. I think it's better than RoboCop and Total Recall. Just the violence alone is just insane. But he had he also made Showgirls. I think he made Basic Instinct. So Spetters is from 1980, and it has I don't Renee Suntek. I can't say her name. Sutenjik, I think. But it also has Rutger Hauer and Jerome Karabe, and they're in small roles. It's actually about these three guys. It says they're teens, and they're in the motocross. Two ride bikes. One of them is like is their mechanic. And I was like, it's got to be good. He has another film, The Fourth Man, that he made. I think it's the last Danish film he made before he came here, I think. And I have that, and that's good, but Spetters is just crazy. And I say that just because I don't really know much. I don't know if you know much what Denmark is like. I think it's better be set in Denmark. And it's a small country, and they just have a totally different viewpoint of sex. I don't know if it's just this movie or if the whole country is like this, and being that this is already like a 43-year-old movie, I don't know if it's a good representation of what young people were like at this time, but they're just I'm going to talk about that for a little bit. So there's a part where one of the three guys, his name's Eve. He works at a gas station. He's a mechanic, and this girl comes on a bike, on a little motorcycle, like a scooter kind of. And she's like, "Can you fill her up?" And he has the gas nozzle, and he sticks it between her legs, and he's like, "Can I fill this up?" And she just kind of like giggles and laughs it off. And I was like, that's messed up. I mean, to me, you wouldn't do something like that. I would never do anything like that. I thought she was like his girlfriend, but no, she's just a customer. And then she pays him and she gives him, I guess they're just flirting, and he's gonna give her a change, and he like pulls her shirt, and she's like letting him do it, but he pulls her shirt up, and she had like tennis balls or something to make it look like she had bigger boobs, and they pull them out and they laugh at her, and she runs when they throw the tennis balls at her. They go to a disco. In the backseat of the car, one of the guys, like, he pulls his girlfriend's top down and exposes her breast to everyone, and like one of the guys like touches her nipple, one of his friends. All the girls are laughing and looking, and I was like, I don't know how you feel about stuff like that. I mean, it doesn't like make me mad or anything, but I was just, wow, that's really like open. I have known girls that you could do that with, but not where everyone's cool with it. Usually, like, one girl's like I guess I don't want to say prude, but like a prude, or would get jealous, or just not like that kind of behavior. But it just seems normal in Denmark. So the whole thing is these three guys. They want to. I guess they think motocross is their like ticket out of a small town, and like minimum wage jobs. And they meet this girl. She's got a like, I can't even remember her name. Fennec or something like that. I can't remember her name. It's the girl on the cover, who would go on to be. Have you ever seen the movie Eve of Destruction? She's in Eve of Destruction. So like they all kind of like her, and like they do this thing where they're like, just out of the three of them, it's Eve, Hans, and Dean or something like that. And to decide who gets to like try to go out with her, they measure their penises, and they just pull them out, and like they get in a little, they huddle up and they pull them out, and then they start stroking themselves because they're all, you got to make it hard. And I was like, is this normal? Again, I was like, is this normal behavior in Denmark? And then one, like, he's got a huge dong, so they're like, okay, you can ask her out first. So it's just them and their lives in this little town in Denmark. Eve, his dad is abusive. Dean, his parents are nice. They care about him, and seems to be like the one they think is going to become successful at motocross. And Hans is he seemed like the nicest one of all. He's just like maybe kind of like a goofball. He's in band and still a kid basically. But it's the fentanyl girl, who she's just, it made me think, like, she runs a food truck, basically, with her brother, and she's just trying to get out of it. Like, she wants, that's her whole thing, is just finding a guy that, like, what can you give me? Like, support me. I don't want to smell like French fries all the time. And she kind of focuses on Dean, because she thinks he's going to be the most successful, and so she like helps him get a contract with Jerome Karabe, who's like a sports announcer. And yeah, this whole sex thing, like there's a part where a policeman comes up to her and her brother and like, but do you have a permit, it's for your food truck? And she's like, I think I have it in the they have like a trailer hooked up to their car. She's like, come inside, we'll have a cup of coffee. And she just has sex with him to smooth over the thing with the permit. And it's just like nothing. And her brother's like, good job, sis. It's just, I don't, different cultures, different lands and people, it's just different. Not that it's bad, but it's just, it was a real eye-opener watching this. And then the guy, Eve, the mechanic, oh yeah, there's a part where they're just, him and his friends, and him and Hans and Dean are just joking around, and one of them kisses the other one on the lips, and that's like nothing. Like they're just laughing. But then later, earlier, they see some gay guys on the street, and they don't beat them up, but they rough them up, and they like smear lipstick all over one's mouth. Like there's now you know what your mouth is for. So it was really ugly, actually. I'm not easily offended, but I saw that it's really hardcore to do. But it's in the 80s. But it's just weird because I read a little that Denmark is really liberal. So it's just different lines that move back and forth. So really, there's no main through story to where they're not trying to win a race. I mean, Dean is trying to become like a good motocross racer, but then he gets hurt really bad. Actually, he becomes confined to a wheelchair. Eve, like he robs people, like he robs gay men, and like he's all telling, like yeah, it is crazy. Some of the stuff that happens, I don't even know if I could say stuff that happens. It's just so wild. like he robs like an older gay man, and he tells him, "I'll tell your wife, and he'll give me $500." But then Eve, the mechanic, he gets basically gang raped by 4 gay men, and it is really graphic. Like, they don't show penetration, but they show as much as they can up to that point. And I was genuinely shocked. I was like, whoa, this is like a gay porn. And then one of the guys that raped him, that comes back after, and he kind of like, he tells him like, we just did it for kicks, but like, I know you're gay. And I read a review that someone like, that's messed up, that like he realizes he's gay after he got raped. I don't know. It just so much. It seemed to be a lot more to it than that. Like maybe he didn't want to admit. He could never admit to himself that he was gay until it took this catastrophic event to make him realize that. I don't know. You'd have to watch it, and you can get it at the library. The cover makes it kind of look like a Road Warrior movie, and it's not. There's none of that. That would be cool. I'd love to see like a more like action-oriented post-apocalyptic Spetters movie, but what we got is pretty cool. It's a solid 2 hours. Rutger Hauer isn't in it that much. He's like the star motocross guy, and he's like, they all want to be him, they all worship him, but he's kind of a dick to Hans in it. But then I don't care. I love Rutger Hauer. I don't really care if he's like the bad guy. I still like. I mean, he's always a bad guy. But I still like him, and I've never. It's weird. I think Blade Runner is like a year later. Or what? But he just looks so different than Roy Batty in here. And like the girl, Fentanyl. First I kind of liked her, but she seemed like a bitch. But then, cause she just goes where the money is. But then I was like, well, what is she? And I was thinking, like, do you have to offer a girl like security, money, or just whatever she wants? Is that right? I don't know. From her point of view, it is. And then like they do wrap up each of the 3 friends' story, and it was pretty good. There's a part where Eve, when he comes out to his father, and he's I'm gay, Dad, and his dad's, what? And he's I'm a fairy, and he's like, what do you mean? And he's I'm a faggot, and his dad just does not know what that is. Like, he's all, what's that? He's just so old-fashioned. So Eve has to tell him, like in Bible terms, that his dad understands what he is. And his dad would beat him up anyway when he thought he did something bad. And like Eve, it seemed like to me like he was ready for it. So this will be like the final phase of me realizing and facing up that he's gay. And he's just like ready for the beating that dad gives him. But it was just weird. I was like, yeah, like older people back then, especially like in an isolated community, you tell them like, hey, I'm gay, and they just don't know what it is. And that was cool. So Spetters, I was so tired after work, beat, demoralized, dehumanized, some other words, bewildered. And I really wasn't in the mood to watch a movie, but I gotta return it. I'd watched like 20 minutes the day before, and then I just watched a solid 2 hours, and I watched the rest, and I really liked it. Paul Verhoeven was just a great filmmaker, and just has a way he wants to tell a story. And I wonder how did he go from something like this? And maybe I guess I should review The Fourth Man if I could dig it up. how did he go from these like highly sexualized social issues movies to just RoboCop and Total Recall and Starship Troopers? What's the jump from like a life story to just extreme violence and gore and cyborgs and monsters and aliens and just machine guns blowing people to pieces? There's one really bloody part in here, but yeah, just I don't comprehend Danish people. If there's anyone that knows anything about Denmark and Danish people and the way they live and how they view sex and homosexuality and just life, if you know anything about that, I'm very curious now. What other like cultures out there are like this or just different? So it was really good. I'm really glad I watched it. Geez, would I watch it again? I don't know. Again, if it was on TV, if I was like flipping channels and Spetters was on, yeah, definitely. Maybe if I had it in my collection, I would throw it on. But since it belongs to the library, I go there all the time, so maybe I'll just grab it. Maybe we'll watch it again, but it was really good. Just totally different than what I've been watching normally, but it's a Paul Verhoeven film. Man, I wish he would come back and do something like RoboCop, Total Recall, or Starship Troopers, something violent and sci-fi, something like Upgrade or maybe like some like Grendel or Grendel Prime would be awesome. Is it Grendel Warchild? I know he made a nun movie. I hear that's pretty nasty. But yeah, if you ever see Spetters anywhere, you gotta watch it. It's out there, man. Like it is a crazy movie. I got one more beer, and yeah, I really wanted to review this, and I'm glad I did. Yeah, let me know what you think.